We're getting you all the live updates coming in on day 5 of Putin's invasion, and I'm taking this straight across to Rajesh Pawar, who's reporting right now from the capital of Kyiv. Rajesh, we're hearing that things are slightly better today when compared to the last few days. Tell us what's happening on the ground.
All right, I'll come to the situation on ground a little later. I want you to show the viewers what is behind me. If you can see me, if you can see there, these are all the foreign journalists from almost 25 to 30 countries, which have been brought here in 4 different buses by the Ministry of Defense to show them the city around and to show them certain locations like hospitals where people are admitted, children are admitted. If you can see, can you see the things behind?
Yeah, we can see.
These are all the journalists from different countries, and now they're running for something. Something is there. I'll just put you there. We have control level. This is live right now.
Are those protests, Rajesh? Are those people who gathered there?
Can you see this what I'm showing right now?
Yes, we can. We can. Just run us through what's happening.
See this guy?
La policía acaba de hacer un control y acaba de detener con armas en sus manos a un grupo de personas. No sabemos qué es lo que empujó a esta situación. Lo que sí sabemos es que es una situación muy tensa.
Could you see this? Could you take it on video?
Yeah, we got all of that. We got all of it live, Rajesh, here on India Today.
So look at this, the crowd of foreign journalists, everybody crowded around. They thought this guy is a Russian militia, a civilian Russian militia, and they pinned him on the ground, and look at the reaction of the press here. These are the journalists from almost 30 countries around me, and look how they're reacting. I put it again, the camera onto the crowd right now. Okay. Look at this.
So they've gathered there in huge numbers. Rajesh telling us that these are about 25 to 30 foreign journalists who've gathered. Rajesh,
I will talk a minute later. Just have a look, please. Have a look.
Yeah.
Is that
some sort of an altercation, Rajesh, that's playing out there?
Okay. All right. I hope you're getting the video correctly. Is it
we are. Rajesh, we'd appreciate it. I understand how things are right now, but we'd appreciate it if you could talk us through also what's happening as you get us these live images.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay, and this is a great look at the media, how the media from the world media, how they are, for them this is a very important bite because they found a car which they thought is of Russian people or maybe Russian militia, as I said, and they pinned them on the ground immediately, and the big chaos here. This is a police car, the row of police cars in the background here, and this is all media people around here. And the police trying to put them onto one side, not letting them to be on the road.
And I saw a car that they gathered around. What happened there, Rajesh? They gathered around a car as well that we saw cops
come back to the commentary. Can you just focus on the video right now, please? I'll take a minute because I'm recording from my phone.
Sure. Okay, yeah, we can see what you're showing us, so continue doing that for us.
In a second, I will tell you what is happening actually, but just want to show your viewers what is happening on the ground here right now.
Yeah, please do. We'll keep showing that live images that Rajesh is putting out right now. What Rajesh is showing us is from Kyiv, where foreign journalists have gathered. About 30 of these journalists are around him, and you can see a lot of cops, a lot of police present there, trying to ensure that everyone is dispersed, staying away from the roads. Rajesh also telling us that they had stopped a car which they thought to be part of Russia militia and tried to pull down the person and pin him down. So the journalists gathered there, and that's what Rajesh is showing us right now. He's recording these images, so just give us a few seconds. After that, he will also describe in great detail from the ground exactly what's playing out.
Car is being checked. Every person is being checked.
Things
Every
clearly are
car is
tense
being
there,
checked.
yes.
Every people's, even if there's no curfew, people just can't move around like this.
So there are cops there present all along the road. Rajesh, you're telling us that every car almost is being checked right now?
Yes, every car is being checked. Everybody's documents being checked. Making sure that no vehicle is carrying any kind of arms or ammunition, and whether these people are original Ukrainians or they are part of Russian militia or Russian special forces which have infiltrated inside. Now I'm with this group of journalists brought here by Ministry of Defense. There are probably 70 journalists from all over the world, and now they're taking us to some location. I'm not sure whether or not they are taking us, but I'm with all the journalists now going inside, and I'll keep showing you live what is inside, what Ukraine wants to show us, what the Ukrainian government wants to show us. Let me turn the camera again back to these people when they're rushing towards the site where they want to show us.
So this is the Ukrainian government who is showing the journalists who've gathered there from across the world, including Rajesh, exactly what's happening on the ground. Essentially, what they're trying, I think, Rajesh, to highlight is the human rights violations that are being reported in parts of Ukraine amid this conflict, amid this war.
Obviously, that's very clear. I've been saying for the last 1 week, the most important element of this war is not the military element. The most important element of this war is the psychological element, the propaganda element, the misinformation or the information element. And now we will see in another 5 minutes what exactly the Ukrainian government wants to show the world. There are journalists from almost 70 countries here, maybe about 100 of them, and they've been brought here by Ministry of Defense to show what they want to show to the world. Over to you.
Do you know where they're taking you? Do you know where they're taking you in Kyiv? Any idea, Rajesh?
Look, I'm not accredited with them. You need documents, which takes a long time. It's a very bureaucratic country. I don't have that. I just managed here somehow with my own contacts, and I'm going in with them now. What I've been told by one of the fellow journalists is they're taking us to a children's hospital probably, but I'm not sure, and we will know this in next 10 minutes.
So we're going to stay with you, Rajesh, if that's okay. We're going to stay with you so that we can see what is happening around you as well. I want to understand from you what's also happening in the city right now. You're moving towards that delegation with them to see what they want to show the world. But how is things right now in the capital city? Because there's no bombing, no shelling that's been reported in some time now.
Yes, I was in the center of the city, and I've gone around the whole city in the buses which this Minister of Defense organized for us. Cities, all the streets are empty, totally deserted, no shops open, nothing is open, hardly any people there, very few cars on the streets. Every car is being checked thoroughly for people, for documents, for anything they're carrying. As far as the military action is concerned, since 6 p.m. yesterday evening when we were reporting live, and Stinger missile, cruise missile went off in a military base here. Since then, there have been no bombing, though there were 3 times air sirens in the night, last night. Over to you.
The people who are out there on the streets, are they all trying to leave the city? Are these people packing up their bags and heading out as soon as possible?
Look, most of people whom I know, like I have a lot of friends in the city here, almost all of them already left the city, already left it. Some of them still living. And I want to again tell one thing to the parents whose children are stuck here. Trains are still working. Yesterday there was a train from Kharkiv to Kyiv, train, and they're safe. Russians are not bombing trains and highways and cars and taxis. Trains are still working, taxis are still moving on, and they're safe. If the children are stuck somewhere, they want to reach Kyiv or the point designated by the Embassy of India here, they can reach safely. It is safe, 100% safe on the highway. Just want to convey to the parents whose children are stuck, because I'm also getting a lot of personal requests. The children are stuck in a hell. But I want to reassure them. I have traveled on the roads for the last 4 days, on the trains here, seen around, have friends around. They are safe. And I will again show you the journalists now and where they are going. I will turn the camera around, please.
Sure. So those are journalists you see on your screens there. Rajesh telling us about 70 to 80 odd journalists from across the world. They're a delegation who are being taken around by the Ukrainian government. The government essentially trying to highlight that this is the kind of damage and devastation and human rights violations that Russia has done in the last 5 days since the invasion began. And it's important for us to also highlight that Rajesh there is getting us every update from the ground. He's also following the delegation to give us a sense of where they're headed. He's saying that so far from people he's spoken to, it looks like they're going to also these hospitals to show how civilians have been targeted by Russian troops. But there was a very interesting sequence that played out earlier. And Rajesh, when he joins us again, when he flips his camera, I want to also speak to him about that, about the confrontation that happened on the streets of Kyiv. You see a lot of activity around. Those are largely journalists who you see on your screens. A lot more movement in the sense that cars are traveling also. Rajesh, you can hear me, yes?
Yep. Yeah, I hear you.
I want you to explain to us a few moments ago what you showed us about how a car was stopped. Cops almost literally surrounded the vehicle. The person was pinned down on the ground.
I'll narrate the incident to you.
Yeah.
The journalists, we stopped in front of a complex. 4 buses with lots of police escort. And then suddenly they were checking all the cars. And in one car, they told the people to come out. And suddenly they pinned this person down on his stomach on the road. And suspecting him to be probably a part of Russian militia. And then there was all this journalists rushing towards that. With my small phone, I could not even capture it because they were all surrounding it. But this is what it was. And this is the situation right now. Everybody's looked at with suspicion. Anybody moving around outside without any reason is viewed with suspicion. And one more thing I would like to point out about, I don't know, it's so strange. We are the worst affected country in this crisis, apart from Russia and Ukraine, because of our 20,000 students. Not a single Indian journalist in this crowd of journalists here who are being taken around. Not a single Indian journalist here. I want this for Indian media to think about it. Why not? I mean, this is an important.
Agreed.
We are the country which is most affected after Russia and Ukraine, with 20,000 of students stuck here. And this is an official government briefing taking around. Not a single Indian journalist in 100 foreign journalists here from around the world. Over to you.
That's very, very surprising. Very surprising indeed what Rajesh is pointing out, especially as he very, very rightly put it. There are so many Indian nationals who are currently stuck there as well. This is a mission there, you see, by the government, where they're reaching out to the world to send out a message that this is what's playing out in Ukraine. Rajesh is very closely following that delegation. He's also getting us updates of what's playing out. Because Rajesh, what comes to my mind the moment you explained things and how it played out in Kyiv is what happened with you a few days ago when you were live with us. And you were shooting a video, you were live with us, showing us what's happening around you. I think this was in Mariupol, when a cop came up to you and asked you what you were doing on your phone. That essentially sums up how things are right now and how tensions are peaking in parts of Ukraine currently. Rajesh has just flipped his camera. When he flips it back to him, I'll put that question to him again. He's getting us those images. You see the foreign journalist being ushered in somewhere. If I'm not wrong, that's a hospital, but he can confirm that for us in a few moments from now. This is a delegation by the Ukraine government, and it's got about 60 to 70 foreign journalists, all of whom have come together to see what the Ukraine government has to say. 5 days of invasion. The government wants to send out a message. The Ukrainian government wants to send out a message saying that, look, there have been massive human rights violations here. Civilian settlements have been targeted.
Is my camera focused correctly? Can you see the people, please? Because I can't see my own camera. Is
we
it
can see it
properly?
perfectly. We can see it perfectly, Rajesh. Keep showing us what's happening. So you can see a lot of security there as well. A number of armed personnel around these journalists as they're being ushered in from one venue to another.
Wherever we are going, I don't know.
So they're moving in there into a corridor, and remember, as Rajesh pointed out, you know, this is journalists from across the world. There's no Indian media there. Rajesh Pawar, here for India Today, is also, in fact, getting you details of what's playing out, what the delegation is being shown right now by the Ukrainian government. We don't know exactly where they're headed, so we're getting and tracking them live for you here on India Today. And hopefully in a few moments from now, we'll have details of exactly what they're being shown and the message that the Ukraine government intends to send to the rest of the world about atrocities, about human rights violations on their civilians, on their citizens that they've been talking about for the last few days. You see a lot of journalists there with a press jacket. They've got their cameras, they've got all of their equipment with them as they're making their way inside. Rajesh Pawar getting us those images there for India Today and showing us how things are playing out right now in the capital of Kyiv. Remember that the weekend curfew has been lifted. There's been no bombing or explosions that have been reported. So there's been that lull. And that's being used right now by authorities to kind of highlight what's been playing out in the capital of Ukraine and thereby highlight what's been happening in other cities where the situation is reportedly much worse.
Is my camera focused correctly?
Yes, Rajesh, we can see perfectly what's happening. Those are the journalists who've gathered. Any idea, Rajesh, if you can hear me, can you tell us any idea where you are right now, where they're going?
From your face, I understood. Need to be quiet for some time, please.
Sure. Okay, so, we'll cut off my audio to Rajesh. He's going to get us those images. He's going to continue getting us those videos live. Understand that this is a very, very sensitive situation. So we understand that we can't really, at this point, afford to speak. I'm not sure if Rajesh is speaking to us. Rajesh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I leave them inside and they're waiting to another door to be opened. I don't know for what. But till then, I can take a question now.
Where is this, Rajesh? What kind of a building is this? Is this a hospital?
I don't know. This is a big complex. And is it a hospital? Is it a hospital?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a hospital. It's a
Ahmadid.
Ahmadid.
Yeah.
Children's hospital. Possible. It's a children's hospital they have brought us to, and we have not yet entered the where children are admitted.
Having a bit of a problem there with Rajesh's correction. He's inside a building. He's just found out from people around him that he's in a children's hospital. Okay, we'll reconnect with Rajesh in just a few moments. Understandably, his connection is a bit fluctuating inside that building. He's telling us he's inside a children's hospital. So the Ukraine government has taken all of these journalists who gathered, their foreign journalists, inside the children's hospital, presumably to show them how children have also been injured, have been casualties in this particular conflict. Ukraine highlighting over and over again that civilians are being targeted. Rajesh, can you hear me?
I hear you good now because I've come outside and waiting for these people to go in, and probably after that I'll show you what is inside.
Okay. I think it's clear now that they're trying to show them casualties of the war. As you had mentioned earlier, it looks like they're being taken into the hospital to show them children who've been injured also in this conflict in the last 5 days, yes?
Yes, and I want to make a point here, please, regarding the war. As I was saying outside when I could not speak properly, that the most important element of this war is not the military element, it is a psychological element. And the very reason the Ukrainian government is making sure everybody sees injured children and it is telecasted live around the world, only one reason is they want to portray that Russia and Putin are evil and they are just trying to fight and survive for their own country and they're protecting their people. That's the point they want to make to the whole world. So the pressure on Russia increases and they can justify whatever they are doing, be it chemical weapons or anything else. Over to you.
Very true, very true. And, Rajesh has touched a very important point about Ukraine now in its own way piling pressure, saying that the world must take note now of what's happening, of human rights violations, of atrocities. And that's what they're doing with this kind of a delegation of, foreign journalists being involved. Rajesh, with regards to what's happening in Kyiv, you did mention that for parents, for families who've got their loved ones currently stranded in Ukraine, are trying to find a way out. They're obviously at this point extremely scared of what's playing out. With the curfew being lifted, there's a hope that many more people will be able to travel. Is that happening?
See, curfew was in place for military reasons because a lot of Russian special forces and militia had infiltrated inside. But right now, though the curfew has been lifted, the movement is almost zero. There is no movement except for a very few cars. They are probably official cars, military vehicles, police cars, and a few private cars. I don't know for what they are working for the government or what, but I see a few private cars outside. No people on ground, no people on foot going around too much, maybe in smaller localities. But in the center where I was and in the buses that shows around the city, I did not see people on the streets anywhere. Maybe I'm sure they are out in the smaller outskirts somewhere, but in the city, main city, no people are coming out, despite the curfew having been lifted. And also, as I told you earlier, and I want to reiterate, there was no firing, no bombing, no shelling yesterday.
Okay. Hopefully that remains the situation today and through the day as well. Right now there's a lull, which is what people are using to kind of get out. I also want to play out, that moment when Rajesh, I will get that out with us in just a bit, when Rajesh was live from outside, from the heart of Kyiv, and there was a person inside a vehicle pulled out by police, pinned down because they believed that he was part of the Russian militia. So, there's a sense and an air of distrust, of suspicion clearly there, Rajesh, across Ukraine right now?
100%. Everybody is viewed with suspicion. Everyone. Anybody on the road without any valid reason is viewed with suspicion. As I told you, they are people from the same stock. They speak the same language. It's impossible to differentiate who's with whom. So they're checking everyone very carefully and viewing everyone with a lot of suspicion. Okay, I'm trying to go inside now. If I lose my audio and video inside, please disconnect me. I'll make a video then with my phone. Okay?
Sure. We'll let you go, Rajesh. We'll let you go. Thank you for the moment. We are going to come back to you, hopefully, with all the details. Meanwhile, if you could record for us, we'll play that out also in a few minutes from now. Rajesh Pawar reporting for India Today from Kyiv. What he's doing right now is he's following a delegation of journalists who've been sent to Ukraine by the Ukrainian government. They're being shown atrocities and human rights violations being committed by Russia in the last few days amid this war. And as Rajesh pointed out, this is clearly psychological warfare now. It comes down to what kind of messaging Ukraine is trying to send out to the world and thereby put more pressure on Putin, on Russia. A lull right now in Kyiv and in other parts of bombing and explosions that's prompted a lot more people to be out on the streets, try to get their groceries, their provisions, some trying to leave the city as well. And that's what we are covering very closely here on India Today. I want to get you a quick chunk as well. We'll pull that out and we'll play it out for you of Rajesh. 15 minutes ago, when he first joined us live here on India Today, he was showing us in the heart of Kyiv how Ukrainian police, armed to the teeth, stopped someone in a car, suspected that he was part of the Russian militia, so they dragged him out of his vehicle and pinned him down. And that moment we caught on our cameras. Very, very intense, and it shows you how much distrust there is in the air currently, which is, understandable considering it's a war situation. And as Rajesh pointed out, very difficult right now for the authorities in Ukraine to kind of identify who is who here. They all, of course, look alike. They speak the same language, so it is very difficult right now for them to really figure out much. Maria Pysarenko is joining us from Kyiv as well. Maria, the reports that we've been getting from you, from Gaurav, from Rajesh, seems to suggest that today things are much better. Can you tell us where you are, what's happening right now? Are you doing okay? Have you been able to get in, your groceries and provisions?
Yes, things are a little bit better today than the days before, and now the curfew, which was being active for 2 days, is over, and people are allowed to go to grocery stores, to shop a bit, to do the stuff they need, to be in the streets, to go by the transport. And now I'm in the grocery store trying to find some bread, and I can't find it because the shelves are empty. Almost all the important produce are gone. People are trying to, stockpile things. I'll show you in a moment. So these are the stores of bread. So no bread, is here because there are no supply, no new supply, and everything that used to be here, people are trying to buy, and there is not much panic, but the feel of anxiety that people really need to stock up on the produce. And for example, you can see, yes, that I am right now trying to look for a bread, and there is no bread of no type, and the lines are pretty huge and long, and people are really trying to buy whatever they can, not even what they really need, but the things, to have at home, to pack for the next curfew or for whatever comes next in the nearest future, in the nearest days. And there is a huge line at the cash desk, and you can clearly see that people are, preparing for the new curfew. At the same time, such produce as, some sweets or some luxury goods are still in place, and people do not hurry to buy them, yes, because you need to save money, you need to save cash, because you can't withdraw cash from ATMs now in Kyiv. And so is the situation right now. I'm in the city center, and the streets are also kind of empty and still empty, and the lines of people are going like, you know, flowing towards the grocery stores, supermarkets, and also the pharmacies. The other places of the city are still pretty ghostly, you know, ghostly looking. There are still a lot of Ukrainian military patrolling the streets. So that is the situation right now with the civilian people.
Okay, I can see, Maria, that where you're walking in the grocery store, largely almost all the shelves are empty right now. It looks like the essentials, more or less, have run out in all these stores.
Yeah, even you can see the sweets. Yes, the cakes are also almost all gone. So only the few are left here behind me.
Did you get any information, Maria, from early this morning, because the grocery shops opened? Were there a lot of queues? Did you have to, you know, go through a long line to actually enter the store?
To enter, no, but to leave the store, yes, because there are long lines at the cash desk, and I'm yet to be, you know, put through this, to stand in this line. I wouldn't show you it right now because there are a lot of also Ukrainian military people trying to buy some food for them while they're on the post. So everybody is preparing for food shortage, I guess, and the line is like all over the shop, all over the supermarket, and it is pretty huge. And people are waiting, you know, to pay for their goods, and so everybody are trying to for example, the man behind me is going now and saying, I need a special type of cigarettes, but please buy any type you can find. Buy any type, he repeats several times. So there is their understanding that you can't choose now what to eat. You better buy what you see, you know. So that's the situation in the grocery store in the city center of Kyiv.
Okay, Maria, I hope you managed to stock up on all the supplies you need as well. You're at that grocery store. Maria, I'm going to give you some time so you can go ahead and move forward to the billing. Maria was telling us also that, you know, there are military personnel there, which is why she's not showing us the kind of queues at the counters, understandably so. It's a very sensitive situation. And we are, of course, going to get you those reports, keeping in mind where our reporters are. Maria getting you a report from inside a grocery store. Surreal, really, to see all of those shelves completely run out of stock. It's empty, and people are trying to figure out what they can grab with the limited money that they can use, because there is a worry that with war, they can't afford to splurge at this point. So that's another concern. Rajesh Pawar is still with us. Rajesh, tell me what's happening now.
I'm inside this briefing by the head of this hospital, children's hospital. This is the biggest children's hospital in Kyiv, and they say it is right now full of patients, full of wounded children, and they are running out of space and they need humanitarian aid. And right now his briefing is going on. I'll just show you around. I can't speak loudly because it will be really rude here to speak loudly, okay? I'll just show you around and turn the camera around.
Well, I can say
So what you're seeing right now, what Rajesh is showing us, is from a children's hospital where you've got a number of foreign journalists gathered. There's a briefing that's on by the head of the children's hospital, presumably telling them about the kind of casualties, the kind of inflow of patients that they've seen in the last few days since this invasion, since the war began. And this is being organized by the Ukraine government, who are trying to highlight to the world the kind of situation right now Ukrainians are facing. And this is at a children's hospital. Rajesh telling us this is the largest children's hospital in Kyiv, where people have gathered right now, where these foreign journalists are currently seated. Many of them have their cameras out as well for the briefing by the hospital head. It's very clear, Rajesh, from where you are, that the Ukraine government is trying to set the record straight with the lull that's been reported in the explosions there. They're using it to kind of show the world what's happening.
All right, I'm out of the briefing now.
Okay.
What he's basically saying is that they have had many injured children who have suffered injuries or died in this invasion. And this hospital, which is the biggest in Kyiv, is currently full. No beds are available, and they need a lot of humanitarian assistance. In fact, in a way, Ukraine government is trying to tell the whole world how cruelly the Russian forces have behaved. They have not distinguished, they have not differentiated between children, grown-ups, civilians, or military men. That's one message they're trying to convey. Secondly, they are asking for humanitarian aid now. Medicines and any other kind of humanitarian aid that can be supplied to save the children who are injured or other people who are getting injured in this war. This is the sense I get out of this briefing. And of course, the message to the whole world is very clear that Ukraine is suffering and please come to our help, and that Russia has invaded us in a very brutal way. That's what they're trying to convey. Over to you.
Two messages that they intend to send across, Rajesh. One is, of course, to get help for them in Ukraine, to get the world to sit up, listen and act also. Secondly is perhaps to corner Russia, because you mentioned this very, very important point earlier as well about psychological warfare. Russia on one hand is talking about nuclear alert. Ukraine on the other is saying, look at what they're doing to our civilians and the human rights violations, and that's what they're putting on full display.
Yes, of course. As I said, this is, imagine when the images of injured children lying on the hospital's bed will flash around the world. What impact will it have? Imagine the impact on the world when they will be flashing around 100 countries on TV screens. Injured children, small little children, injured, hands broken, bleeding. What impact it will make in the whole world? It is the most impactful thing today. It will be screened in everybody's bedrooms around the world. Watching it and see the tide of war firing a shot.
We're having a problem there with Rajesh's connection. We'll go back to him. He's inside a children's hospital right now, where there's this massive delegation of foreign journalists who've gathered. They're being briefed by the hospital head also about the kind of atrocities that have happened. Rajesh, right. You're with us. Can you hear me?
I just changed the location. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, much better, much better.
Okay. So, you see, maybe I don't know whether you understood the last point or not. I want to reiterate.
Sure.
I'm saying, imagine when these images and videos of injured children with severed limbs, bleeding, blood coming from everywhere, lying everywhere in the hospitals, when these images and videos will be screened, telecasted around the world, in the drawing room across the world. There are journalists here from more than 70 countries right now. Imagine the impact it will have. Psychological impact, the pressure on Russia, the pressure on the normal public's, the public opinion, and Ukraine will score a major victory just with this one visit, which probably Russia couldn't achieve probably with 100 tanks somewhere in Kharkiv or on Mariupol. Over.
And that's an important point. Rajesh, you've been traveling across Ukraine. You know, when you talk about the kind of casualties among children, among civilians, the Russian government has maintained they're not targeting civilian settlements. Is that actually the truth? Because we've seen so many incidents of residential buildings being targeted.
Look, this is a biggest misinformation war or a propaganda war since Second World War. And this is what I keep telling, that please, all these analysts and specialists who come on various TV channels and keep giving views, watching it through the glass, through the lens of Indo-Pakistan wars and those conventional warfare, it is not. It is neither a conventional war in that sense, nor it is same like Indo-Pak or Indo-China war or what we see in movies. This is a very unique war, fought in a very unique way. And the most important element of this war is the information campaign or the misinformation campaign, or you call it propaganda. And second is the psychological part of it. By doing what Ukraine is doing right now, they have turned the tide. I'm getting messages from India, from a lot of friends, people who are very sympathetic towards Russia because it's our very old ally and we have grown up seeing Russia as our friend, have turned against Russia. They're more sympathetic towards Ukraine now. Imagine how it happened. It happened through this. This is a warfare, and Ukraine seems to be winning this very important element of this warfare. Over to you.
It's not just that, Rajesh. You know, 5 days of the invasion, of the war so far, there's been a lot of talk about how Russia hasn't got what they intended, haven't moved and progressed as much as they would have wanted to, and that there's been an unbelievable fight back by Ukraine.
Look, sorry, I didn't answer the second part of the first question. Wherever I've gone, I was in Mariupol, I was in Zaporozhye, I was in Dnipro, I was in Kyiv. I have not seen till now a single Russian aircraft in the air. Not a single one. I asked hundreds of my local friends all over Ukraine. They have not seen aircrafts in the air. And yesterday there was a report from Ukrainian media, Maria, the biggest aircraft in the world, has been shot down. Maybe they are being shot down. I'm not denying this. I'm not discrediting anyone. But me on ground here since even before the war started, have not seen a single aircraft, despite being in combat zones all over eastern Ukraine and central Ukraine now. I have not seen a single Russian aircraft in the air. And I have not seen, except for one place, which was Levobrizhny near Mariupol, where I reported, I saw a Scud rocket which was there, and it has fallen on the road and damaged a car. One residential building has been hit in Kyiv. I'm sure of this, which I've seen with my own eyes. Besides this, I have not heard of a real attack or intentional damage to any civilian infrastructure or any civilian residential area. Over to you.
And you know what Rajesh is saying is also very, very telling about what's really playing out on the ground. Rajesh, I hope all okay?
Oh, no, here I'm totally safe. Okay. Don't worry about my safety or anything. I'm 100% safe and I'm used to such circumstances. But, only thing is, kindly when I'm on a spot which is reporting live, kindly put it there. Don't make me wait, because these things stay only for 3-4 minutes. And if you put me on air after 3 minutes, it's gone by the time.
Completely.
I don't have any other equipment to record things here, just my phone.
Completely understand. I promise, Rajesh, that we will keep in touch with you. Keep watching out for all the reports that you're giving us as well, to put that out
and one more
immediately.
Request, please. I want to make a request. One more request. After probably 5 minutes, I'll have the children on video, and probably we can go live that time. Okay?
Sure. Rajesh, then we'll do that.
Sure.
We'll do that. Thank you, Rajesh, for joining us for the moment. Rajesh Pawar reporting there from a children's hospital where there's a delegation of foreign journalists being ushered in through by the Ukrainian government to show them how civilians have paid the price of this war by Russia in the last few days. We're going to be going across to Rajesh, as promised, in a few moments from now.